Hello guys, welcome to Solving Solutions, your number one channel where you get solutions to all your solving problems. It's nice having you in class again today. How have you been? We are going to look at something very interesting. We are going to look at some tricks and tips on how you can use your Casio FX991ES Plus calculator. You know, this application, the link to downloading the application will be on the description section of this particular video. This application is just like an emulator, but it has more functions and it's more efficient. You know, but most times as students you might not be allowed to go to the exam or with this particular application. However, what we are going to show to you now, you can actually apply it on your normal Casio FX991ES calculator, ES Plus calculator. So just watch this video, get those tips and tricks, and then it's going to help you. So the first thing is this is actually the calculator, maybe when you have it with you. Then let's say you have a long maybe series of calculations and you don't have the time or the luxury of typing your results out. So let's say you have an operation like this. You did the square root of 56 squared plus, let's say, 65 squared, right? Then you came down, you now say divided by 56. So you have an answer like this. You know, this answer is quite long. If you want to write it out, definitely you need to write it out for your examiner. However, it's quite long when you want to impute it back into your calculator. So what's the best thing you are going to do now is that for you to increase your efficiency and then also be fast, very important, you know, fast and accurate, then you need to save it on your calculator. So you need to save it in the memory of your calculator. So the same way you are going to see it now, the same way you can see it on your calculator offline. So please, you need to get your calculator handy so you can follow us through. So you just press shift, then you now click on the RCL, or maybe press the RCL. Then when you do that, the next thing is, if you look at your screen, you can see that you can see A, B, C, D, E, F. You can see X, Y, you can see M. All these are letters of the alphabet, right? So you just select any letter of the alphabet you want to save it on. So we just click on A. It means, as you can see on the screen now, it means that that particular result has been stored on what? A. It has been stored on A. So if you want to use that result again, you don't need to type it out. You don't need to type 1.532076. See, I've even made a mistake. Instead of 76, I typed 46. So we have 76255563. So you see the time it will take you to type it. But when you have stored it like that on your calculator, you can recall it. How do you recall it? You just click on alpha on your calculator and then you press A. When you do that, you just say equal to. You now see that that particular value has been stored on your calculator on the letter what? On the letter A, which means any operation you want to carry out, you just need to say alpha A, and then that particular result that has been stored on that letter will be added to your operation. So with this now, we can say letter A squared. So we know that that particular square root of 56 squared plus 65 squared all over 56 is actually what we are squaring. But the idea is that we don't type it out one after the other again. Is that not good? So that's one trick. Now the next thing is that this particular calculator has so many functions. Now towards after the display, let's say below the display rather, you see 3 horizontal lines. Just click on it for options. So you can see different options. You can see math formula, you can see graph, you can see unit converter. Now the next thing we want to show you is what? The unit converter. Now under unit converter, you will see different units you want to convert. You can see dimension, you can see useful for currency, fuel consumption, mechanics, you can see that of motion, you can see for chemistry, computing, energy, electricity, and the rest of that. Photometry, radioactivity, magnetism, mathematics. And so now let's start with let's just look at a few of them. Let's look at length. So as it is like this, if you want to convert from what? Kilometer to what? To centimeter. So let's say we have 10. You can now see that what? 10 kilometer is actually what? That's is it 1 million centimeter? Or maybe 1 kilometer is actually what? 1 million centimeter, right? You can actually reverse it by what? Clicking on that toggle at the middle. You can reverse it. So instead of having 1 kilometer, you can see 1 centimeter is actually equal to what? How many kilometers? So let's see how many centimeters will give us 1 kilometer. As you've seen now, we are having like 100,000. So these are how you carry out what your unit conversion. And there are some other stuff you can still do apart from the unit. You can still come, apart from the length, you can still come to what? You can still come to area, square kilometers. There are different measure of area, right? Good. There are different measure of area you can actually how would I put it? You can select. So maybe if you want to go with square kilometers, if you want to go with hectares, deca, square meters, and different other units, right? So they are all interchangeable, or yes, they can actually be converted. Then the next thing we want to show you is what? The volume, So it's another part of it. Most of these are actually not on your offline calculator, but we want to show you some of those things that are on the offline calculator that are actually on this as well, right? Good. So now you have some constants saved on your calculator. Some constants, maybe you're in the exam and then you can't recall some mathematical constants or mechanical constants or whatever the case is. So what do? You just click on shift. You click shift or you press shift on your calculator and then you press 7. You now see the different constants that are inbuilt on the calculator and their corresponding symbols, right? You see the different constants. So if you're looking for proton mass, you can see there. If you're looking for neutron mass, you can see the electron mass, muon mass, Bohr radius, Planck constant, nuclear magneton, Bohr magneton, and as you can see them, atomic mass constant, proton magnetic moment, and elementary change, Avogadro constant. So all of these are constants that are on the calculator. Same way, when you want to carry out conversion, you just still say shift and then you press 8. So it's now asking you what conversion do you want to carry out. Is it from inches to centimeter? So let's say you click on 1. It means you are converting from inches to centimeter. Now the best way to use the conversion rather, is to have your value. Let's say you want to convert 10 watts. So you now click on shift 8. So are you converting 10 inches to centimeter or 10 centimeter to inches? So you can see they are on 2 lines, and I think they are just a reverse of each other. So the first one you convert from inches to centimeter, number 2 you convert from centimeter to inches. So the number 5 is from yard to meter, the number 6 is from meter to yard. So just the reverse, right? Good. So let's say you want to convert from feet to meter. You already have 10 there, which means you're converting 10 feet to meter. You can actually edit it. If you don't want 10 feet again, you can edit it to 5 feet. And you can see the equivalent in meter. You can edit it to 5.555. You can see the equivalent in meter, right? So that's how you use the conversion. So with this, you don't maybe need to rack your brain. This particular function is on your offline calculator, right? Good. You don't need to rack your brain on how you would go about using the conversion. Now there's another function we want to show to you. We have rectangular coordinates, we have polar coordinates. So let's say you are given rectangular and polar coordinates, and maybe you want to convert from one to the other. So you can see on your screen there, or you can see on the screen there, you have on plus a second function of pole, and then on minus you have a second function of rec, all in yellow color, right? Good. So you just click the shift or you press shift and then you press plus, you see pole coming out. What this means is that you want to convert rectangular coordinates to polar coordinates. So what you are going to do now is that you impute your rectangular coordinates, which can be delta northern and delta eastern, right? So let's say we have 56.555, whatever the case is. Then you use that arrow to the right. Then you impute. The first one you are going to impute is your delta northerns, right? That's your delta northerns. Then you now impute your delta eastern. So let's say your delta eastern is 87.222 or 233, right? Good. Just say equal to. Your answer has been displayed. Now, if you look very closely at your answer, you would see 103.96209238896. That's actually your distance, because your polar coordinates are in distances and bearings. That's why we use the pole. The pole will help you convert rectangular coordinates to polar coordinates, and your polar coordinates, which is actually your result, is actually distance and bearing. So the first result there is your distance, and that distance is 103.962, right? Good. Then your bearing is what? 57.043284389485 to the end, right? Good. Now you know your bearing is mostly in degree, minute and seconds. So how do you have your bearing in degree, minute and seconds? So you just click the AC. Then these two answers, your distance and bearing, has actually been stored on your calculator's memory on letter X and Y. That has been stored automatically under letter X and Y. So if you say alpha X, if you say alpha X and you say equal to, you would see your distance being displayed, right? And if you also say what alpha, let's come down. And if you also say what alpha Y, you will see what your bearing being displayed. And remember that your bearing is still in decimal. You don't need it in decimal, you need it in degree, minute and seconds. So you just click on that degree, minute and seconds button on your calculator, and then it will convert it to what degree, minute and seconds, which means converting that 56.555 87.2333 to the polar equivalent. You have what 103.962, that's to 3 decimal place, and then 57 degrees 2 minutes 38.02 seconds. So that's how you convert from rectangular coordinates to polar coordinates. Now this particular procedure is so important to surveyors because we use it during our traverse computation processes, right? Good. Now let's look at the next one. That's rec. So you still do what? You say what? Shift minus, and your rec is out. So the first one you're going to put there is what? Your distance. After your distance, you input what? Your bearing. So now let's look at this particular, the one we have used before. Your product will be what? Delta nothing and delta easting. Your product will be rectangular. Your input will be what? Polar. Then your product will be what? Rectangular. That's why you have the rectangular command there, right? So now let's input our distance. So we are imputing a distance of 103.962. Let's see how far we can take this. Then 23. Then let's say the bearing we want to use, as it has been displayed there, is what? 57 degrees. We have 2 minutes. And then we have 38.02 seconds, right? Good. And we'll say equal to. Now you can see that the rectangular coordinate that is being displayed is actually equivalent to the rectangular coordinates we imputed earlier, because we are trying to check ourselves, right? Good. We use a rectangular coordinate to get a polar equivalent, and we are now using the polar coordinates to see if we are still going to get what? The rectangular equivalent of that particular set of numbers, right? Good. So you now see how the pole and the rec function works on your calculator. So this is actually what very, very important. So if you still want to recall them, you just do what? Alpha X, and you see what? Equal to, you see what? Your delta nothing has been displayed. You come down again, just click on AC, you see what? Alpha Y, and then you say equal to, you see what? Your delta is still being displayed on what? On your screen, right? Good. Now there are still so many things we can do. Let's still move on. Now you know we have matrices, right? So now let's say shift 4. You can see matrix on 4, which means it's the second function of 4, right? So you click on that. When you click on that, you can see different things. There's actually a particular video on the channel where we have described how you can use this function of matrix. So we are not going to be exhaustive. We'll leave a link to that video on the description section of this particular video, so you can access it and you get the full details there, the full gist, right? So you can see different things you can do with a matrix here. You can find the determinant, the inverse, the matrix rank, transpose, identity, dimension, row reduction, and the rest of that. So let's say you just click on one, which means you want to find the determinant, right? Good. Now this might not work immediately because we are not on matrix mode, right? Good. So when you check on that video, you can see how you can move about, or maybe how you can set it up to that particular mode. Now we can still do something else. Good. We can also have some math formulas. We said you can't go to your exam hall with this your phone. However, when you're studying and you can't recall some math formula, you can actually click on this option, because that's what this actually means. These 3 horizontal lines below the display, you just click on it and you come to what? You come to math formula. So you can see different math formula as it is being displayed. Now you have your favorite formula, you have geometry, algebra, trigonometry, equation, analytic, and rest of that. So all of this. Now let's click on algebra. You can see different you can see different math formula under what algebra being displayed. So maybe if you can't recall some stuff, you can just click on that and you do what you would see all of these formula: progression, arithmetic, geometric, and then maybe exponential. You see logarithmic and decimal logarithm, natural logarithm, and rest of that. You also have that for trigonometry. You can see different trigonometric functions. You can see them, right? Good. The table, the co-ratio, the basic formula, the multiple angle formula, the powers of trigonometry. So all of these things will enhance how you use your calculator. Let's move to matrices. You can see different things you can do under matrices, right? So maybe if you have forgotten the notations, or maybe how those things can be done, by simply coming to this your calculator, you can get a hint and you can continue with whatever you are doing with your calculator. For statistics, you can see set, subset, intersect, and so many other stuff as we have shown you. You can even see periodic motion, right? Periodic motion, you see different other mathematic formula. You close that. You can also plot graph, but that's actually for the pro version. Maybe when you upgrade after you download the free version, you just click on the graph, and then as it is now, you can impute. Maybe when you go through the how the algorithms work, and you know how to impute your values, and you will definitely see your graph plotted, and you can actually still export your graph after you've plotted it, right? Good. You can share graph image, right? Good. So that's some of the things you can still do with this your calculator. Now let's look at how you can reduce. Maybe you want to reduce a number to a particular decimal place, or maybe a significant figure, and rest of that. So now let's recall our A. Remember, we have a particular we have a number stored on A. This A is very long. It's very long, right? So let's say we want to reduce it to maybe 3 decimal places, or maybe 4 decimal places. What do we do? What we are going to do is to just simply press shift mode, right? Good. When you press shift mode on your calculator, you would see different displays, or let's say different units. Now for the angle is in degrees, the default is decimal, then the implied multiplication. But what we are concerned is decimal number format. Decimal number format. That means how we want our decimal numbers to be displayed. So you just click on that decimal number format. This is not how it is being displayed on your calculator, but you still have to use that shift mode on your calculator. So we are now using fixed mode, right? That fixed mode helps you to increase or decrease the precision. So let's say as it is now, let's just check the shift mode first. You now see it's now on 4 decimal place. You use this to do what? To increase or decrease the decimal place. So let's say this is 1, this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, depending on what decimal place you need. So let's bring it down to 3. So this is 3, right? So it's actually on 3 decimal place. So if we go back and we say answer equal to, you now see our answer being displayed in 3 decimal place. The reason why we say the answer is because the A is actually the answer we already have stored on our calculator. If we still come back to alpha A equal to, you still see it as in 3 decimal place. So now let's still go back to that mode, and then let's come to decimal unit format. This time around, we don't want it in decimal place. We want it in in significant figure. That means maybe as it is being displayed here, scientific mode, or science mode, or engineer mode. So let's say we want it to maybe 3 significant figure. So we only have 3 numbers after our decimal place, right? So our decimal point, right? Good. So you just close this, and then you come back to your display. So let's get our alpha A back, and you now see 1.532 times 10 raised to power 0, and 10 raised to power 0 is actually 1. So it's actually 1.532. So if this particular example does not suffice much, let's use an example that has 0, so it will be very, very clear for us. Good. You now see how it is. We are starting from after the non-zero digit. Then from after the non-zero digit, which is, we now move the decimal point to that point, and remember we are going 3 significant figure after the non-zero digit. So this is how you can use the significant figure on your calculator as it is offline as well, right? So shift mode, right? Good. Now let's come back and let's keep it on the normal mode. The normal mode, as it is being displayed here, it can display your answer to as much. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have up to 11 decimal places, right? So we just close it and then we come back to what our alpha A, and then we still have it what being displayed there, right? Good. So this is another thing you can do with your calculator on the offline mode, and even using what this particular application. So by using this application, you can see how you can apply some of these functions to what to your calculator offline, right? Good. Now on the calculator, there is another view, or let's say another display on this calculator. Remember, we told you this is more sophisticated than the one you have offline. So towards the extreme right below your display, you can see second. When you click on second, it takes you what to the second display, the second function, or let's say the second set of functions. Let's use that, the second set of functions you have in your calculator. So you can see there are different functions you have on this calculator that you can use. So let's go back to the first. That's the default we use, right? Good. This is the first, and then this is the default we use. Do you know you can actually have equations on your calculator? Let's say you want to solve simultaneous equations, and sometimes you can have 2 unknowns, 3 unknowns, 4 unknowns. You want to solve polynomials and other stuff. You can actually get them on your calculator. You just click on mode on your calculator, then you see different modes that can be used on your calculator, right? So now let's look at the second mode here is complex. When you want to work on complex numbers, you just click on it. But let's look at some equations. Now when you look at the equation below vector, you see what solve polynomials degree 2. That means you have what the square of 2, right? Good. You can solve that. Then you come down to solve polynomial degree 3, polynomial degree 4, polynomial degree 5, as the case may be, right? Good. Then when you come down, you can also see where you can solve a system of equations with 2 unknowns. That's what we want to check out now. So for this first one, the first one is actually your quadratic equation. The second one can be your polynomial equation. The third one here with degree of 4 can also be your polynomial. So depending on what you have with you, you can actually use this to solve that problem. Now let's look at solve system equations with 2 unknowns. You just click on that. Now you have your input in form of a matrix. So remember, let's say you have 2x plus 3y. So now you don't need to put x, you only need to put the coefficients of those unknowns. So we have 2x, you type 2, you press equal to, it takes you to the next, plus 3y equal to 10. You come down to the second equation, because the second equation rather, you have 2 equations, right? The second equation is what 4x plus 5y equals to what 15. And you want to find the values of what x and y. So you just press equal to. When you press equal to, you will see the value of x to be what minus 2.5, and then the value of y to be what 5. So this is how you use your calculator to solve equations. It's actually the same way you have it on your offline calculator. If the mode of getting to that point is not as it is being explained here, that's actually the same way you can when you get to that equation mode, this is how you input your values and you get your answer. You can also click on solve to solve the equation. So when we are done with that, just say AC to reset it. Now you are on this mode and you want to exit this mode. You just come to mode and then you just click on math mode. That mode has gone. That mode for equation is gone. So you still come back to mode. Maybe if you still have another set of equations to solve, then you still come down. We also have inequalities. There are so many things you can actually do with this calculator. Now you have unit converter, as we have explained earlier. So there are different units, as we have told you, you can convert, right? Good. So by the time you lay your hands on this calculator and then you try to go over it, you see how well you can get some other stuff we did not show you. Now, okay, we've shown you constant, we've shown you conversion, right? Good. We've also shown you complex. You can get a complex by just saying shift 2. So these are different components of the complex number, but that's not what we want to do now. So with this, we believe we've introduced you, or let's say we've given you a head start on how you can use your Casio FX 991ES Plus calculator efficiently and effectively, maybe in the exams or during your study. If you have any question and you have any contribution, you can actually leave it on the comment section, or you can send us messages on any of our contact platforms or our contact details, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So we are going to see you on our next video. and we hope you keep having very good calculations and having very good results. Until then, keep staying safe and have a nice time. Bye.